David Cochrane of Power and Politics is human. David Cochrane showing his humanity on an episode of Power and Politics yesterday, expressing his frustration with how the Liberals are conducting the campaign of a specific candidate. And admittedly, it was a reaction I wasn't expecting, especially from someone on the CBC who seems to be all for supporting and pushing this Liberal Party in whatever way they can so they can keep their crispy paychecks. And so since it's Saturday, we wanted to keep it light, have some fun, enjoy the day, keep this a little shorter, and show you exactly what happened on the CBC show yesterday. But before we do that, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. It helps us keep the show going, helps me keep motivated. Staying up till 4 a.m. to do a video, it keeps me going. I would really appreciate it. So please like and subscribe. It means the world. Let's get on into it. This man right here is Greg McEachran. He is a former Liberal Ministerial Staffer who was discussing what's been going on at the campaign trail. There's a 30-minute segment, and then he gets into a story. He shares about how he was at an event for Mark Carney in the Ottawa area and says it was a great event. It was awesome. There was a lot of enthusiasm. And there's this statement and this story that set David Cochrane off. I'm going to show the full 90 seconds, so you're going to have to brave and grit through the story of this man because it does paint it up and set it up perfectly for the reaction we see from the host.
I was at an event this week and I heard Carney speak, and he referenced Nova Scotia, very close to Fred and I, and he talked about being in two different rooms, and that the difference that he's seeing is that rooms that a couple of months ago would have been filled with anger are now very quiet, and people are very, very worried. And again, this was on the weekend before we got our 30-day stay with Trump. I even saw that I was on a rural highway here on Sunday. I stopped in a gift and food store that I know, and the co-owner was there, and she was able to tell me right away how much in her store was from the U.S., and that was going to be it for a while. So in terms of awareness, I think I saw a poll this week. This was the news story that Canadians were most engaged with since the pandemic. So this is a big moment, and I think this is why, to Mel's point about, it's a time for serious people.
So this Carney event was here in Ottawa?
This, no. The one that I was at was here in Ottawa. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
But I was
Is he going to do any national Canadian interviews while he's in the capital city? Because CNN and BBC have had their chance. Any idea? Do the Liberals know if they're candidates?
I knew you were going to do this, David.
I
can list all the places. But you know what? You know how I feel in this. I would like him to be here because I think he'd be good.
I'm just raising it to
but
be
if he needed to be
here,
if he needed to be here, he would be here.
No,
right?
when he does it, it's strategic. The Liberals tell me, but when poilievre does it, it's offensive. Apparently, I mean, give me a break, right? Like, what are we? Anyway, this is my little issue.
Oh, David Cochrane. When the Liberals do it, it's strategic. When the Conservatives do it, it's offensive. Okay, all right, give me a break, he says. He pulls a Josh Udo. Oh, what are we doing here? Yeah, it was kind of funny to watch that take place. And again, telling the story about how Canadians are so engaged with the story of what's going on with the U.S. And admittedly so, people should be engaged. It is pretty important to our country and our livelihoods. But then that was the story. He talked about a Carney event, told the story of what is happening, how it's impacting Canadians and store owners he talked to. And then Cochrane just sat there and let him finish. And then he goes back to the point the guy made a minute earlier and says, so that Carney event, that was here, right? In Ottawa? Yeah. Oh, so was he going to do anything with the CBC? Anything with the national news? Anything at all? Any point? Oh, man, I knew you were going to do this to me. Oh, that's a valid question. Where's he been? We got to put an APB out for this brother. I don't know where he's at. CNN, Jake Tapper has a better idea of where he is than we do at this point. It's pretty wild. But I just found this a hilarious reaction. And it encompasses the feeling that we all feel right now is we really don't know a whole lot about this man and his campaign. He's released a couple policy ideas, and then we've been just sitting here waiting and hoping that it ends up being okay. Like our hands are tied here as Canadians. It's pretty awful. Everybody in the Liberal Party is recognizing that Carney's just kind of like dip, ducking, and dodging right now. Ruby Dalla even calling out Carney, Freeland, Gold, and Bayless, saying, hey, let's do a debate. Let's have a conversation about policy, shall we? A place where we can challenge ideas. She even put that out there, and we know that will likely fall on deaf ears. Which shifts us to the conversation. Canadians have been wondering where Per Poilievre's been at. He's been doing some events, talking about LNG gas, talking about what he would do with the tariffs and so on and so forth. Like, he's been out there, but there's been a question mark on him and his campaign right now. Because the elephant in the room is the Axe the Tax slogan has been rendered outdated. Only because of the announcements that Freeland, Carney, and other candidates have made in the Liberal Party that they are going to forgo the carbon tax. And even though we know it's the BS version of them axing the carbon tax, the reality is it's out there in the ether. People think that the tax is gone. And all sides agree that they need to axe the tax. So the eye was shifting, especially those who are conservative supporters, shifting to Poilievre and the Conservatives. What's going to happen here? What do we do moving forward? How are they going to react? The frustration was starting to grow on social media. People on the right side of the aisle were expressing their frustration about where's Poilievre? What is the messaging going to be? This thing has to change. Things are different now. For the most part, Freeland and Carney are campaigning on bringing things to the center and people are eating it up and believing it. So if they had to change and pivot, naturally, when you're in a contest, the opposition is going to have to react and change their strategy based on what their opponent is doing. People are naturally asking the question, what's going to get people excited about Poilievre again? We're seeing the reflection in the polls. Whether you believe them or not, the polls are there. You can take them as they are. So what's going to happen? What is going to be the reaction? And I believe we just found it. Next Saturday, February 15th, Pierre Poilievre is having his Canada First rally hosted in Ottawa. They made make sure to make a special note to wear your red and white clothes in honor of our nation's flag. This right here is the reaction. This right here is the chess game. You're going to talk about bringing the economics of the Liberal Party to the center. You're going to try and make smart decisions for a green economy. Be tough on Trump. That's how liberals are going to react. We're gonna axe the tax. We're just gonna tax the big polluters, but we're gonna axe the tax. So we've been waiting, we've been seeing, and this is classic conservative party. Whether you like it or not, hate it, love it, this is how they do things in this party. At times they are just a little bit too calculated, a little bit too long in their decision making. And I hear some people are like, oh, it's a strategy. Like they have to release at a specific time, and I get it. The way it reads to the regular person is they're playing catch up. And so that's why I'm like, they've been waiting a little bit too long for the reaction to this. From my perspective. So it's going to have to be something good. And folks, if Trump has done anything, he has restored the pride of a nation in Canada. We've been disagreeing in terms of how we deal with these tariff threats from Trump, but a threat from Trump is what it took for the crazy lefties to finally take pride in our country. That was nice. Good to see. We'll take what we can get. So naturally, Poilievre's like, all right, how do I unify Canadians under one message? We're going to put Canada First, and we're going to run on a Canada First platform. So this rally will be interesting. If you're in the Ottawa area or somewhere in Ontario that is within, decent driving range, go. I would say go for it. You might see me there. I'm in the process of making plans to be there myself. Because I think it's important to go, see what's going on, talk to people on the ground, and see how people are feeling. I think that it'll be important to be there. February 15th, 1 p.m. Come with red and white. This is the plan. We've seen the Liberals go so far left in their policies. And people like Carney are like, I'm going to bring it back to the center. He's been evading, as David Cochrane expressed. He's been on CNN. He's been on BBC. Nothing with CBC. Nothing with CTV. And we know, I have a feeling Carney would get absolutely shredded by someone like Vassy Kapelos. Love to see him pop on with Vassy. Because seeing Carney kind of shrug off Todd Battis at CTV Atlantic, Vassy isn't going to let you shrug her off. So it'll be interesting to see. But that was the thing that upset me about that statement, though, by Greg McEachran. When David Cochrane expressed his issue and his disappointment with the strategy Liberals are employing with Carney in avoiding Canadian media, he said if he needed to be here, he would be here.
If he needed to be here, he would be here.
There you are again being so disrespectful. Had no reason to be.
And that, my friends, shows you how much he cares about you, how much he cares about the country. He has no respect for it. Doesn't care. Dodging media here at all costs. It's one thing for him to dodge shows like ours, independent media in the country. It's a whole other when you've been such a champion for mainstream media and yet you avoid it completely. It's interesting, isn't it? We'll see what happens. Mark Carney, time to build. Pierre Poilievre, Canada First. We'll see what happens here, folks. Have a great Saturday. I'm out.